Coach, offensively, where are you at so far through 3 games with this team? It feels like they're sharing it pretty well, shooting it pretty well. Is there anything you're foot dialed in on improving as you get into this second week?
I think there's some real positive aspects to our offense. The willingness to share the ball. You mentioned that we've seen that the entire summer in preseason, but to see it happen in some games with the lights on, people in the crowd, that was great to see. I expected to see that, but it was nice to see that. We have a ways to go offensively, not in trying to figure out who we are, but trying to be more consistent in who we are. I think take transition offense, for example. I think when our transition offense, there's so many possessions in the first 3 games where it was really good, and we had 5 guys doing their job. And then when there's plenty of examples where 1 or 2 guys don't do their job, and it wasn't very good. So it's good to see that we were capable of carrying over things from practice and applying them to games, but it wasn't consistent enough. So I think that's a big aspect. Our offensive rebounding, there's been moments where it looks like it's great, and then there's been moments where it hasn't been. So I think as I continue to, if I went into a deep dive here, which we're doing that as a staff, a lot of the stuff we're doing offensively has been good if we've all been engaged and focused on our job, but it hasn't been consistent, so we're working on more consistency right now. And then, I like how we played 3 games in a short period of time. Now we get a week to kind of go back and adjust and add, and certainly there's some areas offensively we're doing that.
You've got a lot on your plate, but how much is said, if any, about last year's game over at NKU being as they're the next opponent?
I think every game, the next game's always a big game. You guys know I've never gotten to the coach speak thing. Is try to be honest up here. You play a local game, it's a big deal, and you play games in your area. It's a big deal. Every game's a big deal, but games in your area mean a little something because it's in your backyard. So, I think our guys are aware of that, but we haven't had any kind of conversations or anything like that to this point.
Obviously, we've seen some pretty big upsets early in the season, some unexpected games. What does it say about your guys and how you prepared them that they were able to win all 3 games and able to win rather convincingly?
No, from a global perspective, pleased with finding the win column over the first 3 games. There's no doubt about that, but we're not to our standard of play yet. We have a long way to go. I don't think we're sitting here thinking we're the greatest basketball club in the world after those 3 games. But, yeah, winning's a heck of a lot better than losing, no doubt about that.
Coach, defense inside the paint seems to be an issue for the first 3 games. How do you go about correcting that moving forward?
Yeah, I don't know if it was an issue for all 3 games, all 3 times. I think that how we defend – I thought against UIC we had a real problem with defending the paint, and some of that was we were a little too worried about guarding the 3-point line, so much so that we neglected some of our rotational responsibilities around the basket. There's other moments and stretches during games, kind of like our offense, where I felt like we've defended the rim pretty well. And then there's moments that we're making errors. Just the same way you coach everything. You show film, you address it in practice, you teach it, you hold people accountable. But we'll continue to value the kind of defense we have around the rim, whether it's rotationally or not.
Dan has done a really good job getting to the rim, but his conversion rate isn't where you probably would want it if I had to guess. Is there anything specific, finishing stronger, 2 hands, anything you look at that you see there's we can improve? If he improves this, it's going to go up?
Yeah, I think in the last game against Eastern Washington, I probably said it in the press conference after the game, we just missed a lot of layups. And sometimes, every layup's not created equal, right? Sometimes you can run in there and try to shoot a leap and leaner over a 7-footer or kind of fade away from the rim at 3 or 4 feet. Those aren't high percentage shots, but angled layups where you're going towards the rim are really high percentage shots for college basketball players, and we missed a boatload of those, and Dan missed a boatload of those Dan Skillings is a really good finisher. Davion Thomas, who missed a couple, is a really good finisher, and some others. I don't think I have a huge concern about that, but in practice today, we'll start practice with finishing drills if you want me to answer your question directly. But no, I don't have a huge concern because I think that's always been a strength of Dan Skillings and Davion Thomas, and they're the ones that miss some of the bunnies, right? But no, we'll get back to the fundamentals this week in practice and finishing, catching the ball with two hands, shot fakes, ball fakes, footwork. We'll get back to all that today.
You mentioned how much better Jizzle would probably become January, and that's probably the case for a lot of your guys. But are you impressed? The first two games haven't been, not too shabby there for a true freshman.
Impressed? No, I see him every day, and I think he's got a chance to be not a good player, a great player. So, no, I ain't impressed. I'm not impressed yet. But do I think that he's improving, that he's working on the things that he needs to do every day to continue to take steps? Yes. So I think Jizzle's doing the things he needs to do. He has the right mindset and work ethic, but he has not impressed me on the basketball court yet, and that's a compliment to him because I think he has so much basketball or excellent basketball in front of him.
You've talked about CMOS as a facilitator, and we've seen that with high assists, low turnover numbers. Are you happy with that side of what he's done so far, and how close do you think he is to having one of those 20, 25-point games that he had at Butler regularly?
Oh, he'll have big-time shooting and scoring games. He'll have big-time assist games. He'll have both games where he does both of those things. I thought he really settled in here the last two games, and he's really working to improve defensively, which is an area I've really challenged him. So I appreciate how hard he's working. I still think he's got some steps there. He's going to settle in. He's a really good player. Again, we see it every day. So if there's a half or a sequence where we don't see that type of thing during a game, we don't overreact because we see it every day. He's going to be fine. Everybody knows how important he is to this team's success, and I was pleased with some of the stretches that he had in the last two games. He's taking care of the ball well, but I think he can take care of it better. There's a couple plays where he puts the ball in jeopardy off the bounce, and he's one of the best ball handlers on the team, so that's not like him. I think it's a little bit just, knowing when to dribble and when to pass and when to shoot, and he's pretty good at that.
Career day for Vic on Sunday. How much does him being able to step out and hit the three change the dynamic of your offense?
Yeah, shooting fives are difficult to cover in college basketball now. I mean, any level of basketball, really, because it forces you to pull your biggest guys away from the rim. It forces you to adjust your pick and roll schemes. So, I mean, shooting fives present problems. And, when we're playing him at that position, which we've been primarily doing here these last three games without Aziz and Jamil, it does open up some things for us offensively. I've been telling you guys he can really shoot the ball now. I mean, he could shoot it a little bit last year. I just didn't let him. He can really shoot it, I think, trying to find the right balance of when he looks for his shots without just floating around the perimeter. I think that's the trick here, and I think we're working through that every day. But, yes, at the five spot, it presents a ton of problems for other teams' pick and roll coverage or just spacing the floor. At the four spot, it's really important that he spaces the floor in that position. And so I think he's primed to do a good job at either position this year.
You told me a lot coming into last season that John Newman was having as good, if not a better, lead up to the season than anybody you had, and then he got the knee. Is what we're seeing from him the last two games even a glimpse at where he was at before the injury last year?
Yes. I mean, the way you guys have seen him play, it's what we saw all preseason. Not just the defensive effort and intensity and impact, because he did that his first year here. Just seeing that he's taken a step as an offensive player. I mean, you guys see the way he shoots the ball now, or his decision-making, driving the basketball. It's significantly improved. Or in the open court. Now he tried to go behind his back and transition the other day, and I turned it over. So listen, we're not there yet, but overall, it's obvious that he's really improved as a player. We saw that the entire preseason last year. So when he went down, that really did impact our team a year ago. But like everything has a a blessing in its own right, and we wouldn't have him right now. So it's working out for our team right now.
You've been pretty eloquent on Aziz and Jamil. Any form of an update, any talks with attorneys or the state or anything?
I have no updates. No, I have no updates, and I've been very, very clear how disappointed I am and discouraged, and just I guess it's been extremely hard on them, but it's been extremely hard on our entire program. And I guess my only comment today, which is in line with all my other comments, is I really believe that what's happening here is that the NCAA is trying to make a statement to college basketball and college football, and that you cannot transfer 2 times if you haven't graduated. I think that's what's happening here. I have zero problem with that being a rule. I'd support that. My issue is the way that we're doing it. I'm all for finding some way to restrict transfers. I think that would help all of our jobs, but not at all cost, and not at the cost of our own players. So it's like anything in life. If there's something that you guys think would be good, and you say it would be good if we did that as a society, or it'd be good if we put that rule in as a law. Yeah, that's great, but at any cost? No, we don't operate like that. We don't do things at any cost. We do things the right way, and the right way to come out last spring or last January and say there are no 2-time transfers, 0. That would have been the right thing to do, and we all would hear that information and abide by it. But to put out a sheet of paper that says there's 3 types of waivers, there's 7 guidelines for this particular waiver, and if you meet those, you better play. Kids meet them, coaches and programs do their jobs, look into that to make sure that that information's accurate, and then decisions are made. And so the mental health of our student athletes that are sitting out, Jamil and Aziz, and the mental health of the other ones that are being pulled into this, and the mental health of our program is being sacrificed times 10 because of a poor process and confusion and arbitrary thinking and hidden agendas and things like that. So that's my issue. Let's have clarity. I think everybody does well with clarity. And then we can debate the real issue at hand. But we're not even able to debate the real issue at hand because I don't know, but I really believe that's what's happening. We're using these kids as examples, frontline examples, so the next group won't try this. And that is wrong. That's inherently wrong. And I'll keep saying it. What's going on is just not fair to young people. It's not the sexiest story, so you don't hear it all over the national media. It doesn't get headlines, but the fact of the matter is there's human beings in that locker room that are being sacrificed, and it's not okay. And I will not get over it. I will not get past it. We will continue to make sure that we do everything in our power to get these guys on the court, because that's where they belong, and it's unhealthy for them not to be playing. That is the truth. That is the facts.
Got time for one more?
Kind of from a tangible aspect, how hard is it for you or anyone on your staff to completely clear your mind of that situation and prepare to coach a game, or does it just kind of naturally linger into the game for you?
No, our jobs are to control what we can control, So when I'm as a staff, we're going to pour our heart into those guys that can play, and that's important that our team understands that we can. There's going to be other things that are issues out of our control over the course of this season, over the course of our lives. We have to lock in and control what we can control, but every time we're not on that basketball court, or we're not practicing, or we're not in the game, this has become a distraction for our team. Quite frankly, because to act like it's not would be to neglect the injustice here. And we're not going to do that. We're not going to just go, oh, okay, well, man, we're sacrificing 2 kids' lives. their entire identity and their entire life over dynamics that are well above what's ever going on here. And we're not going to just say that's okay, we're moving on. We're not doing that. And maybe that makes it easier to coach him every single day, but we're not doing that because that would be the wrong thing to do. We're not going to just say it's okay. It's not okay. We will stand up for it. Like I'll say that. Like we will stand up for these two guys, and our team will stand up for these two guys. So, yes, is that a distraction in some ways? Absolutely. But when we take the floor, it's not an excuse. All right, when we're in practice, it's not an excuse. We'll control what we can control.
All right, thanks, Coach.